Good morning and welcome to the first virtual Home and Buildings Renovation Show. My name is Davies. I'm an award-winning designer and the design director at Aristocraft Kitchens and Kitchens for DIY. Today I'm going to guide you through how to get the best out of your kitchen design. As a kitchen designer, I always really like to get to know my clients before I start designing for them. I like to know if they've got a family or if their elderly relatives are going to be using the kitchen. This makes it a lot easier for me to design as I know exactly who I'm designing for. Don't be brief with your brief. It's so important as a designer to get as much information out of their clients as possible. Sometimes you might see something on Pinterest that you just don't think is achievable. It's your designer's job to make sure that you can get either something like that in or give you some different ideas to achieve that look. The project I'm going to show you today is actually my award-winning design. My clients came to me at a very early stage with their architect's plans, and I must stress it is never too early to get your kitchen designed, and in this case it proves that because I actually changed the layout of my clients' bifold doors, which enabled me to zone their kitchen as they wanted a really open plan living, and I was able then to design the kitchen area, the dining area, and more of sort of like an entertainment area for them. So let's start with the kitchen. The main thing you need to decide on is your door style. It's very important because then as a designer it leads you to more of a traditional sort of design or a contemporary design. This particular project was a 1940s house which has been completely renovated. They'd had it all rendered in a really nice crisp white render and had changed all the doors and windows to a lovely anthracite. The client came to me really wanting a more bespoke kitchen, which they really liked the in-frame look but felt that the in-frame was a little bit traditional for them. So I introduced them to the slab in-frame, which works really well. It's just sort of like a modern take on a traditional kitchen. One of the main things my clients always ask me for is how they can maximise on the storage space. As you can see from this image, because we've got the ceiling height in the kitchen, I've designed top boxes on top to take advantage of the height of the ceiling. To stop the bank feeling so imposing, I added glass into the top boxes. Now, because this is a bespoke range, it meant that I could use any sort of height units, so I wasn't restricted. Now, if you're using doors which are sort of stock doors and you haven't got that flexibility, the way you can achieve this look is by going for the taller wall cupboards, which are 900 high, and then scribing panels into the ceiling just to achieve this look. Ways to actually maximise on storage space is to make sure that you are making the best of the units that you've already got. So maybe think about changing some of your units into drawers, because drawers are more accessible. But if you are working to a budget, just be mindful that drawers are more expensive than a cupboard. Other ways that you can gain storage is by going for some wire works, so some larder or base pull-outs, recycle bins, carousels. These are all really good ways of getting maximised storage into your kitchen. If you're lucky enough and you've got the space to design a double larder within your kitchen, there's some nice sort of creative ways that you can use within the internals. I always like, if you can, to create sort of like a little breakfast area. You can do this by just shelving out at the inside of the larder and putting a piece of worktop in there, whether it be your quartz or your laminate. Make sure you've got a couple of sockets in there so you can put your toaster, and if you don't have a boiling water tap, you can put your kettle, so it keeps your worktop nice and clean. You can even take this a step further by putting some dovetail bespoke oak drawer boxes in, which you can see on the picture here, and just have them engraved with bread, snacks, whatever you want to. And in this particular one, I've designed some lovely oak wine storage with hanging wine glasses. There are a lot of different oak internals and things on the market at the moment, so you can be pretty flexible and either go for all of it or just some of it, depending on your budget. Going back to the layout, my clients really wanted sort of an island within the kitchen because it was open plan living. I didn't want the island to feel really big and bulky, so I designed their island in particular as a freestanding piece of furniture, which you'll see from this image, and you'll see how by doing this it lets the light flood right the way underneath. When having islands, the main dilemma that most of my clients have is, does the hob go on the island or does the sink go on the island? In my way of thinking, really, the hob should always go on the island because it is more social, and you don't really want your washing up on your island, particularly if you've got seating, because then it just, when you're entertaining, it just wouldn't work. So then you go on to the dilemma about extraction. What sort of extraction do you have? Because most people don't want a big bulky sort of hood hanging down from the ceiling. So most people will either go for a sort of bulkhead and ceiling extractor, which is recessed into the ceiling, or you could go for a downdraft hood, which is really good, especially if you've got children, because it acts as a splashback when cooking. This particular kitchen I couldn't do either because of it being freestanding. There was nowhere for the downdraft to go, and the joists were running the wrong way, so I couldn't sort of mount a ceiling extractor in. So I went for a combo hob. You'll see here, this is where the hob and the hood are all in one appliance. Because your island is such a focal point within your kitchen, it's always nice to get some sort of extra features in, whether that be a pastry bench, bookcase, wine cooler. It's always nice to get a little bit of seating on there as well, and you can add in some extra texture by having some oak worktop to contrast against sort of any granite or quartz that you might want to go for. So let's look at the finer details of the kitchen. So first of all, we'll look at colour. I introduced my clients on this particular kitchen to the railings, farrow and ball. This is because it picked up on the anthracite bifold doors and windows that they'd just installed within their property. Within this bespoke range, we were able to have the unit sprayed in whatever colour we wanted. Now again, if you are going for sort of stock doors and have to stick to stock colours, ways to achieve this look are going for sort of more the indigos, charcoal or half-forth blues. Now because sort of these darker colours can feel quite cold, the way of getting some warmth into your kitchen is adding some wood. So you'll see here I've designed a herringbone sort of parquet floor in a wood finish, and then you'll see on this picture, just to pick up on that little detail which probably most people wouldn't see, is that I've designed an oak herringbone shelf, and you'll see along here that there's just some lighting which is recessed underneath the glass unit, which runs through the whole length of the shelf just to illuminate the worktop. While we're talking about worktops, now's a good time to sort of discuss with you the types of worktops that you can go for and that are on the market. More and more people are going for quartz and granite nowadays, but if your budget doesn't allow, there's some lovely laminate ones on the market, especially when they're bought out in 20mm, which really looks like sort of granite or quartz. Wood, a lot of people like the look of wood. Just to make you aware that there is a lot of maintenance with wood, so sanding and oiling sort of every sort of 6 months, so just be mindful of this if you are going to go for wood. If not, again, there's a lot of wood look worktops on the market at the moment. Egger do one which is particularly realistic. One of the things that my clients did tell me in their brief is that they really like the Calicut work surface, which is the quartz worktop. So this is a nice crisp white with a nice grey vein running through. Now because they wanted to go for some brass detailing within the kitchen, I introduced them to the Calicut Gold, which has got a really nice gold vein which you pick up on the brass detail. And there are a lot of brass handles on the market at the moment, and adding brass again to sort of any darker colours like the greys or the blues, it really adds warmth again to the colour scheme. Because granite and quartz is so versatile, you can use it as a splashback as well as on your work surface. Because it's templated on site, you can even have sockets cut out. One of the main things when my clients come to me that they hate about their existing kitchen is normally the tiles and the grout lines. So this eliminates that, and tiles are the quickest thing to date your kitchen because they change shape so often. Now, if your budget doesn't allow for you to go granite or quartz, another way to achieve this look with laminate tops is going for a glass splashback. Again, you can have the socket cutouts and it eliminates those nasty grout lines. We touched upon handles earlier. As you can see from this kitchen design that I did, I used all different sort of sizes and shapes of handles within the same handle range. Now don't feel as though you have to go for the same handle throughout your kitchen. By doing sort of different handles and mixing it up, it gives it a more bespoke feel. I've complemented the tap with the handles, so you'll see that I've used a brass Kuka boiling water flex tap. More and more of the tap companies are now bringing out sort of the copper, the black and the brass, so they're moving sort of more towards the handle trends just to give the warm metal feel. In most kitchens there is some sort of obstacle within the kitchen, whether it be a soil pipe, whether it be a boiler. In most extensions there are nibs. Don't see these as negatives, use them as a positive and design around them rather than making them stand out. In this particular kitchen that I designed, there was a soil pipe coming into the kitchen. I decided to design around it and created a lovely focal point by designing a fire which was inset. This created a nice break in the kitchen to add in my zone 2, which was my sort of entertaining, relaxing area. You'll see on this picture that I've used the space within the chimney that I created, as I never like to waste any space, and created a little sort of drinks cabinet. I just did this by adding in a kitchen carcass and a door which I had painted in the same colour, which was a Zoffany tiger's eye, the same colour as the chimney breast, and just had some little glass shelves and a downlighting, so it was as though the bar was open when they had guests round. You'll also see that on the wall I inset the TV, and then to add texture, brick slipped the wall but then painted it black, so it made the TV, when it was off, sort of more camouflaged into the wall. There's so many different types of lighting you can get within your kitchen now, from under cabinet lights to plinth lights, under worktop lights, ceiling lights. They do them in different colours as well, so you could either go for a warm white if you're more traditional, or a cool white if you're more contemporary. I find it really important, if you have got sort of like a living area or a dining table, to go for some sort of feature lighting, so pendants, and maybe change the bulbs to sort of the amber bulbs, which are sort of on trend at the moment. It gives it a nice sort of warm ambient feel, and you can perhaps just have your under cabinet lights on an evening with your pendant lights, and it gives it a sort of a different feel to the bright white light that you would probably have to work in the kitchen area. So to summarise, the most important things to remember when designing your kitchen is to get your design done just as early as possible. Invest your time in a really good kitchen designer. Think about storage and how you can maximise on your storage. Get as much colour and texture into your kitchen design to give it a more sort of boutique and homely feel. And make sure that you use different lighting. My name's Caroline Davies, Design Director at Aristocraft Kitchens and Kitchens for DIY. Thank you for listening to my masterclass.